I'm Jin-Young Kim at Korea University. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizer, and I'm very happy to be here. Also happy to see a lot of familiar faces again from abroad. So the title of the paper I'm going to present today is the impact of university scientists on innovations in nanotechnology. I'm working with some of my colleagues, Sang-Jun Lee at Alfred and Jerry Marshke at Albany. So the objective of this paper is quite simple. Using the US patent records, we try to study how scientific knowledge is transmitted from university to industry. And before I proceed, I'd like to make it clear that I'm not going to offer any new theories or the detailed analysis. Mostly I'm going to give you some descriptive analysis of the influence of university researches on industrial innovations. Having said that, so as we know, while the outputs of university research can be disseminated through the traditional channels of open science, such as paper publications, conferences, informal social networks, and so forth. But in this paper, we are focusing on the role of research personnel as a pathway for the diffusion of ideas from university to industry. As Professor Hall mentioned earlier, that we have a lot of the passiveness in scientific knowledge. So person-to-person contact is considered a very important part of this diffusion of technology, and that's kind of the main focus of this paper. In particular, we here are studying the technology transmission from university to industry in nanotechnology, which is one of the fastest advancing fields in science and technology, and is anticipated to have great contributions in many important, economically important industries, such as IT and BT, and therefore in economic growth. Oops. My line has disappeared. The first line I had on this slide was that so in this paper we try to trace the transmission by investigating the inventors in patent records, and our presumption here is that the appearing on a university patent is evidence that an inventor has been exposed to university research, either directly as an university researcher, or through some form of collaboration with university researchers. And then we use measures of industrial employment of university experienced researchers to track the extent to which the nanotechnology industry is accessing university research. And also we use patent citations data to track the diffusion of university innovations to to the industry in nanotechnology. And it comes back. And for this analysis, for this purpose, we have been constructing this panel data set of inventors that contain the patents in each year of the inventors' careers by matching names on the US patents. So that was the patent data set I have been working on, and this is one of the research topics I have been trying to work on using that data set. So more specifically, in this paper we investigate the following three aspects. First, we are going to report the trends in the influence of university research on nanotechnology innovations in the 1980s through the 1990s. And then I'm going to show you the productivity of inventors in this industry, in industry patents, with the university experience. I'm going to compare them with the other inventors without the university experience. And finally, I'm going to talk about the extent of the industry access to university-produced knowledge by using patent citation records. Main findings. We found that the increasingly more nanotechnology patents are produced by university in recent years. That has been an upward trend in this regard. And we also show that the nanotechnology industry increased its employment of inventors with experience on university research projects. And third, inventors with university research experience showed a similar productivity in patenting as those without before the 1990s. But since then, they show a little higher productivity than the others. For the share of industry patents in nanotechnology that cite university-assigned patents almost doubled during this time period we are investigating. And finally, the industry patents with the university experienced inventor are more likely to cite a university patent, which implies that we do have this direct kind of influence of university research on industry, but also there is this indirect influence, which is having a university experienced researcher may facilitate the further transmission of knowledge from the university sector to the industry. So here is the outline of the rest of my talk. I'm gonna give you a very brief literature review, and then I'm gonna explain how I collected this data set briefly, and then I'm gonna show you some empirical findings, mostly graphs and some tables, and then I'm gonna conclude. I think there are two lines of studies in the literature which are related to this paper. The first line is about the importance of university research on industry R&D and innovation. And the second line studies the evidence that most efficient means of transmission across organizational boundaries for tacit knowledge is via person-to-person contact. Some studies have provided the evidence, indirect evidence on this, the second issue. For example, those papers here in this line show that the technological diffusion is geographical limited, and one possible reason is, of course, that we need some person-to-person contact, so the geographical limitation can exist. And also there have been studies that show employment or collaboration with university research personnel is important. And we are following these literatures to show the importance of university research on industrial innovation in this paper. Data description. The data set we're going to use in this paper is a part of the Inventor firm panel database, which we have created. There were three major sources for this data set. First, the patent data, patent bibliographic data, published by USPTO. We're going to use the utility patents in the US from 1975 to 2002. And secondly, MBR patent citations data by Hall, Jaffe, and Tretzenberg. And the third source was the newly created this database called the Nanobank database, collected by Zucker and Darby, which identifies patents in nanotechnology. So that's the third source we utilized to construct our database. In order to have career productivity of inventors or scientists from the patent dataset, the most challenging issue is how to matching names in the patents. Fortunately, the U.S. patents and obviously Korean patent too do not report the individual IDs. So we need to have some kind of the matching procedure to create this time path of patent production of an individual inventor. So we came up with our own kind of a methodology, which might not be perfect. There might be some still issues. And the method is the following. We treat first each entry in the inventor name field as a unique inventor, treating as if they are all different people. And in our data set, we had about 5.1 million names. And we, with these names, we generated the all possible combinations, pairs, which was about 13 trillion. And then for each pair, we decide whether these two names belong to the same person or not, using some kind of subjective criteria we developed. Here is how we identify the names. After these matching method, we came up with the pairs which are matched and which are not matched. And among those pairs which are matched, we checked after this matching whether they share the same middle name initials. If they don't, we consider them as a mismatch. And then the next step was imposing this transitivity. So basically, if name A is matched to name B, and name B is matched to name C, then we consider name A is matched to name C. After this transitivity, we identified about 1.72 million unique inventors. Note that we had about 5 million 5 million names to start with, and then we came down to the 1.72 million unique inventors. After name matching, we had information on all citations from the MBR database. After that, as the final step, we select only those patents in nanotechnology that are identified in the Nanobank database. So using this database, our database, we looked at the influence of university research on the industrial innovations in this nanotechnology. And this first figure shows the share of the university assigned patents in nanotechnology. Since 1975 up to 1997, we can see an upward trend. Only 1975, we had about 2% of the patents in nanotechnology assigned to universities. That share rose to about the 8 to 7%, 7 to 8% in 1997. And if you look at this share among all the U.S. patents, not just in this nanotechnology, the share was about 0.16% in 1975 to about 2% in 1997. So apparently the nanotechnology uses, there are more the university patents among those nanotechnology patents than the rest. Second graph shows the percentage of the industry patents which contain the inventors with university experience. The way we define the university experience explained down there, we consider those people or inventors. We consider the patents with university experience inventors, which had the inventors on a university assigned patent in the past 10 years. And that's the how we define the university experience. And you can see here that the that percentage among the industry patents in nanotechnology has been increasing since 1985 to 1997, from 2.5% up to like 5.5 to 6%. In comparison, this percentage among all the U.S. industry patents is about 1.5% during this period, which also implies that the industry patents in this nanotechnology utilizes a lot more inventors with the university experience than any other technologies. But we in another paper of ours, we looked at some other particular industries like the pharmaceutical and the semiconductor industries, and if you compare this percentage with those industries, actually the pharmaceutical industry shows a lot higher ratio, utilizing more inventors with the university experience. And semiconductor industry showed a little lower percentage than the nanotechnology. Here in this third figure, I'm trying to, 5 minutes, trying to show you the productivities of inventors with university experience in nanotechnology. So in the upper figure, I'm trying to show you the number of citations received in the 5-year period after filing as a measure of the kind of productivity of inventors. And you can see that those with the university experience are getting more citations on average, and that gap has been the gap has been widening. And in another panel, I'm trying to show the patent per inventor for those who had at least one in a given year and one in the previous 10 years. So this is the patent productivity in some sense. of an inventor. And this shows a similar pattern that in the early years, the productivity difference was marginal, but it has been kind of widening between those with and without the university experience. Next diagram shows the citations to university patents. So percentage of patents that cite university patents. Less than 10% in 1985, and increased to about 17–18% in 1997. So industry patents are citing more university patents in recent years. And the last thing I want to show you is the regression analysis, which is trying to estimate the effect of the university affiliation on citations to university patents. So the focus of this exercise was if a firm has a university experienced inventor, whether he or she facilitates further kind of a transmission of knowledge from university. So we are trying to look at the kind of secondary impact of the university researcher on the industrial innovations. So here, in this regression, the dependent variable is indicator variable, which is 1 if a firm has at least 1 citation to university patents. And the key regressor, there are 2 of them. One is the binary variable for whether a firm has at least 1 citation to university patents in year T. I'm sorry, that's the dependent variable. Sorry about that. These are the 2 regressors, focus regressors. Binary variable for whether a firm has at least 1 inventor with university patenting experience, or the share of the university experience inventors to the total number of inventors. And you can see that both variables are showing pretty strong positive impact, which implies that so a firm, if the firm has someone with the university experience, it is likely that the firm is citing university patents later on. So that's so here are some regression results I'd like to report. Industry patents in nanotechnology with more university experience inventors are likely to cite university patents later on, as I said. And also we find this effect after controlling for the number of citations made and for the number of inventors. So we are controlling for the scale effect, and the first finding is still standing after controlling for this. And firms producing more patents are less likely to cite university patents. My guess is that the more patents, firms producing more patents are probably older patents, and it seems that they are less inclined to transmit the knowledge from the universities. Variables for patent value have not definite signs. And finally, more general or more original patents are more likely to cite university patents, since we included those variables, generality and originality in our regression. So to sum up, more innovations in nanotechnology all originated from university research in recent years. And industry use of inventors with past experience conducting university research has increased in nanotechnology quite rapidly in recent years. And industries attracting university experienced inventors whose productivity has increased and exceed that of inventors without experience. And this is the last slide. we observe an increase in citing university patents in nanotechnology in more recent years. And we find evidence that inventors moving from university to industry are instrumental in transferring not inventor-specific knowledge, but more general knowledge created by the university research community. That's the conclusion we've got from the regression analysis. And finally, industry patents with the university experienced inventor are more likely to cite a university patent. Same from the regression analysis. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.